out.
7 days, no bombs fell on North Vietnam. During that time, we have made a most intense and determined effort to enlist the help and the support of all the world in order to persuade the government in Hanoi that peace is better than war, that talking is better than fighting, and that the road to peace is open.
The Vietnam War occurred in present-day Vietnam, Southeast Asia. It represented a successful attempt on the part of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, the DRV, and the National Front for the Liberation of Vietnam, the Viet Cong, to unite and impose a communist system over the entire nation. Opposing the DRV was the Republic of Vietnam, the RVN, backed by the United States. The war in Vietnam occurred during the Cold War and is generally viewed as an indirect conflict between the United States and the Soviet Union, with each nation and its allies supporting one side. The Vietnam War first began in 1959, 5 years after the diversion of the country by the Geneva Accords. Vietnam had been split into two, with a communist government in the north and a democratic government in the south. The Northern Vietnamese Army launched a guerrilla campaign in South Vietnam, led by Viet Cong units, with the goal of uniting the country under communist rule. The United States, seeking to stop the spread of communism, trained the Army of the Republic of Vietnam and provided military advisors to help combat the guerrillas. In August 1964, a U.S. warship was attacked by North Vietnamese torpedo boats in the Gulf of Tonkin. Following this attack, Congress passed the Southeast Asia Resolution, which allowed President Lyndon Johnson to conduct military operations in the region without a declaration of war. On March 2, 1965, U.S. aircraft began bombing targets in Vietnam and the first troops arrived. Commanded by General William Westmoreland, the U.S. troops won victories over the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese forces around Chu Lai and Inh Drang Valley that summer. As a result of these defeats, the North Vietnamese avoided fighting conventional battles and focused on engaging U.S. troops in small unit actions in the sweltering jungles of South Vietnam. January 1968, the North Vietnamese and Viet Cong launched the massive Tet Offensive, beginning with an assault on U.S. Marines at Khe Sanh, and the offensive included attacks by the Viet Cong on cities throughout South Vietnam. Though the North Vietnamese were beaten back with heavy casualties, Tet shook the confidence of the American people and the media, who had thought the war was going well. As a result of Tet, President Lyndon Johnson opted not to run for re-election and was succeeded by Richard Nixon. Nixon's plan for ending the U.S. involvement was to build up the ARVN so that they could fight the war for themselves. The process of Vietnamization began, and the U.S. troops started returning home. The withdrawal of U.S. troops continued, and more responsibility was passed to the ARVN, which continued to prove ineffective in combat, often relying on American support to stave off the defeat. On January 27, 1974, a peace accord was signed in Paris, ending the conflict. By March of that year, American combat troops had left the country. After a brief period of peace, North Vietnam recommenced hostilities in late 1974. Pushing through ARVN forces with ease, they captured Saigon, and on April 30, 1975, forcing South Vietnam's surrender and reuniting the country.
Okay, so Agent Orange was originally used in Operation Ranch Hand, which started in 1962 and ended in 1971. Basically, 20 million gallons of herbicides and exfoliants were dropped on 12% of Vietnam over 9 years to try to destroy forests and get rid of the cover used by the NBA.
Other vital components of the airborne war are such specialized tasks as defoliation, a maneuver designed to peel back the cover from which the Viet Cong spring ambushes on Allied supply convoys and troop movements.
500,000 children have been born with birth defects of many kinds due to this Agent Orange sprayed all over Vietnam. 400,000 have been killed due to it, and 4.8 million were directly exposed during the Vietnam War. The only way to fix it, really, is to help those who've been affected monetarily, or by keeping them supplied with good food, because there's no way to get rid of the effects completely.
You and I are only human. We can't change the past. We can only change the future. Let's start now with the future of Agent Orange in Vietnam. It's a humanitarian concern we can do something about. Agent Orange was an herbicide contaminated with dioxin, the most toxic chemical humans have ever created. Dioxin is linked to birth defects, cancer, and other diseases. During the war in Vietnam, 20 million gallons of Agent Orange and other herbicides were sprayed at up to 50 times the concentration recommended for killing weeds. More than 5 million acres of forests and crops were ruined, and so were human lives. An estimated 4.5 million Vietnamese and hundreds of thousands of American soldiers were exposed. People like you and me. Both Vietnam and the U.S. have made strides to help the afflicted, but more needs to be done. Dioxin remains toxic for decades, especially in hot spots throughout parts of southern Vietnam, and its effects can be passed on from generation to generation. The past is over, but the human suffering caused by Agent Orange is not. Decades later in Vietnam, the food chain is still poisoned at the hot spots. Babies are still born with severe birth defects. People are still getting sick from the dioxin. It's tragic, but we can change that now. Some businesses, organizations, and church groups already are. There's even a plan of action to address the long-term effects of Agent Orange in Vietnam. There are groups looking to raise $30 million per year over 10 years so that we can clean up the toxic hotspots. We have the methods. We can provide human resources to improve the quality of life. We can renew natural ecosystems for a healthier food chain. We can improve international relations between the U.S. and Vietnam. Most of all, the plan of action can provide new hope for Vietnamese families affected by Agent Orange, affirm their dignity, and prevent future generations from suffering. You and I are only human, but together we can make Agent Orange history.
Thank you for watching our video.
In order to stop the effects of Agent Orange, we need your help.
If we receive enough support, we'll host a dodgeball tournament with all proceeds benefiting those affected by Agent Orange.
Progress has been made in solving the effects of Agent Orange, but to completely eradicate the problem, we need your support.
The people in Vietnam are suffering from the chemicals that we sprayed on their crops. Now they need our help to stop it.
Thank you.